Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Lumix Lounge here at WPPI 2015. Sitting here with a good friend of mine, Mr. Richard Harrington. He's the guy behind Red Pixel, that service, as well as Photo Focus, an awesome podcast. Rich and I are going to be talking about all kinds of cool stuff because I'm going to use this as an opportunity to catch up with you.
Sure.
Because we haven't talked in a long time, as well as talk about some other cool stuff that you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's going on? What's going on in your world from the high level?
Well, at a high level, we're going through a lot of exciting things. We just bought a new building. We're building out both a video and a photo studio, which is exciting, and having to deal with lots of changes on the technology front, figuring out all the pieces just to build it in place.
Yeah.
Been traveling a lot this year for photo education, which has been great. Just got back from the Philippines, spoke there at a photo conference, heading to Dubai next week. Have a couple more trips. Have a family trip going diving in a couple of weeks, so that'll be nice.
Very cool.
I got to decide which camera I'm going to take underwater.
Yeah. You can take it underwater. You want to bring it
back
from underwater and still work, right?
Yes,
That's the
ideally.
Prerequisite. All right, let's dive right into this. So
sure.
I know you are an inspirational photographer because not only are you an educator, and you have been for many years now. Books, video, all that stuff. So you're that guy.
Yep.
You know this stuff inside and out, whether it's the creative cloud or others. If it's related to creative stuff, you're in there. So one of the things I know that you're involved in, we were talking about before, is time-lapse photography.
Yes.
Lately. You've been doing some stuff around that. I've been wanting to get into time-lapse photography. I know these cameras can do it, all this stuff. What are you doing?
Well, I love time-lapse for a long time. Time-lapse is a great style of photography because it allows you to really focus on the moment.
Yep.
And I intend to enjoy landscape, and for me, I often joke I'm an anti-social photographer, meaning I spend so much of my time face-to-face doing video productions, interfacing with clients, that when I get a moment to be in the great outdoors, I love just sitting and enjoying it, and time-lapse does that. Now, we do time-lapse for clients as well, but really, time-lapse is taking the same photo over and over again. But it takes both artistic vision and a lot of technical thought because you have to see into the future. You have to really make decisions about what's going to happen in the scene by using data like your app and looking at things like seeing what's the weather and the sun and where's it going to be, because you have to plan the shots out because you can't really go backwards in time.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to go out the day before and spend a whole day test shooting, you really have to sort of prognosticate what's going to happen in the scene. And I love the GH4 for this because it's got a dedicated time-lapse mode that makes it really easy to shoot.
Yeah, and I watched a tutorial, I think it was a couple of years ago, that you did on time-lapse photography. I think it was in Lightroom or something. You were talking about bringing images in and exporting them out as a movie. Now, how have things changed from those days till today? Is it all done in camera, and am I giving anything up by doing it in the GH4?
Well, I'm a big fan of post-processing. The same idea of, could you shoot a great JPEG in camera? Yes. Do you shoot RAW probably in post-process? Yes. I know. So what I like is when I turn the dial and put it in a time-lapse mode, the menus get specialized to time-lapse, and it will record a reference movie right in camera.
Yeah.
So if you want to do a test shot and tweak your settings and let it run, you can let it run, and when you're done, there's a movie.
Yeah.
And that's great. Most cameras, when they're recording a movie, though, can't record the raw files.
Yeah.
And what's cool is this will do both. You can make a movie and make a raw file at the same time.
From each frame?
From each frame. So that gives you a lot of flexibility. You can take those and process a great still. You can also run those through. I still prefer to shoot raw.
Yeah.
Rarely you can get by with JPEG, but if you shoot raw, it's great because if you're dealing with a time change like sunrise or sunset, you're going to have a huge latitude and exposure. Yeah. So my simple thing is if it's going to get darker, I'll start off a little bit overexposed.
Yeah.
And then you just recover the highlights in the beginning, and then later you just lift a little bit, and that way, even though things changed a lot, you don't have a blown out shot.
Yeah.
But a mistake a lot of people make is they try to neutralize it. You want the shot to get darker or brighter. That's the whole idea of seeing time pass.
Right, yeah. And that's the thing I like about time-lapse is the whole idea of, any kind of photography, the kind of photography that I gravitate to is when you distort space and time somehow. Time-lapse is distorting or compressing time.
Yes.
And then there's on the other side of that, there's slow-mo photography that a lot of devices can do now. There's HDR, there's all this stuff. There's cinemagraphs that we're going to talk about.
Yep.
Before we do that, you mentioned that you are the anti-social photographer, right? So I want to present you with one of our TWIP t-shirts here.
Okay. Oh, good. You have anti-social media? Nice.
Anti-social media right there for Richard Harrington.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I am anti-social media a little bit too. Okay, so let's dive into it. So speaking of like compressing and changing things around, one of the other things that you do I have on my list here is cinemagraphs, right?
Yes.
So working with Flixel and the Cinemagraph Pro software that they have, what are you doing in that space?
Well, right now, cinemagraphs are a budding medium. And there's really sort of two major paths that you can take. One is that you're making something that's optimized for the web. And in this case, what you're seeing is, clients are using these in advertisements, or they're using them in tourism, on websites. You can actually embed it into an email as a GIF,
Oh, I didn't know that.
which you can't do with movie-type formats. So, if you do really small ones, targeted ones, you can make some cool things. The flip side is we're seeing a huge boom in digital signage. People are putting plasma displays into the everywhere. Why print something out and make a poster when you can hang a plasma? And so you can have moving photos. And so one of the things I do use Flixel a lot, is the ability to make looping images. So you can take time-lapse movies, you can import that sequence into Flixel and make it a loop, or you could bring in video and selectively add freezes or pauses. So I brought some time-lapse clips, I brought some of those clips. We could talk about those specifics, but it's really quite simple. The thing that makes it nice is that the GH4 and a lot of the other Panasonic cameras now can shoot 4K video. 4K video is this nice balance. It's more than plenty for every TV out there. Like, you got 4K TVs, you got
like
HD TVs. It's great. It's UHD. It's great. Plenty of resolution. But it's also enough resolution that you can pull these things off into many different deliverables. So you have plenty to work with. Even if you had to do a frame grab, it's still good enough quality for a lot of uses, for online uses and basic web uses and some print uses, but it's nice. So you can shoot the 4K video. I recommend shooting at the higher frame rate of 60 frames per second, or at least 30 progressive, and then you just bring the clip in and make a loop. So I can do that if you want to see that, or we can do some time-lapse.
Let's show you.
All right, let's bring some stuff up.
I mean, the audience can't see it here, but
they can't?
Yeah, I don't think they can see it here. They can see it.
They can see it.
Awesome.
Okay,
Let's do it.
So good. Well, let me open up some time-lapse clips first. We'll start there.
Technology. This is so newfangled.
Yeah, it's fun. All right, and they all open up. It's always nervous to open up a folder full of movies without first looking. So
yeah, that could end badly.
Hopefully they're all good here. So, one of the things that's nice
that's awesome.
is the ability, and so even in post-production, since the frames are so large, you could add movement afterwards.
So you're pulling out from that.
In post.
But you weren't actually on a track.
Well, in this case, I was on a track. So this is a real move.
Yeah.
So this is using the Emotimo, which is this great robotic head. It's about $1,000, and it'll do panning and tilting, and it uses a Nintendo Wii joystick. So yeah, I can handle this. There's no
You're
XYZ
like, my kids taught me how to do this.
Yeah, so you can add that sort of movement in, and it's kind of cool. And so as it moves across the surface, that's where you get that sort of perspective.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. And the flip side, though, is being able to just see that passage of time.
That's so cool. Yeah.
And this is just right here in Vegas, actually. This is the Valley of Fire. And so what's great is if I'm getting these shots and I love them, I can still pull out very usable stills. And so it's fun. Another trick that's awesome is to just totally cheat. So shoot like something like sunset like this. Get the initial shot. And then after things start to change a lot and it gets really muddy, I just end up shooting that same shot again with different settings. So you could tweak the settings on your tripod and just dissolve between those three movies. So by just changing the camera settings, and what I like is that once you put it in time-lapse mode with the touch screen, it's so easy to just flip out the display, make basic tweaks, put it on a solid tripod. You've got so many dedicated dials that you're not punching through the menus, so it's very easy to change. I'll also use manual aperture lenses. I see you have one there. So by using a declicked lens, I could a video style lens, I can set the aperture to whatever I need.
In between,
in between, so that you get exactly the exposure that you want. And I mean, the resolution on the camera is just awesome. So when you shoot RAW, you can bring out all that detail.
On these kind of shots, Rich, so final product.
Yeah.
So devil's advocate would say, that's all pretty, it's awesome, you put it online and get 1 million likes, or in your case, 2 million likes on that. You know, but then what?
I could license a shot for $2,000 to $3,000 a shot.
You can license these.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm a social capitalist.
I know you are. Yeah. Not an anti-social capitalist.
No. No. I like to do this stuff. So I always consider that if I can get some shots licensed, I'm happy.
Yep.
You know, I want to be able to get those shots out there, make a little bit of money off of them. I use them for client projects. I mean, we do all sorts of things too. We do some corporate type projects where we've done art installations. Yeah. We've done time lapses of buildings being constructed for clients for construction jobs. So time lapse is very marketable.
Yeah.
But going out to the pretty desert to capture sunrises and sunsets is just fun.
Well, let's see some of the Flixel stuff that you do.
Okay. So let me just switch over and launch that. There we go. And let me just find Cinemagraph Pro. There we go. Too many applications in the application folder. There we go. All right, so it's pretty simple. When you launch it, besides having to enter your password, let me just enter my password.
Selective editing so that you don't see the password.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. All right, so there we go.
Password is password, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So what happens is you just decide what you want to do. So I'm just going to create something, and so I'll close this out and just open up movie. So you can say new, and you can make it from an image sequence or a camera, but I just basically make a new document, and you choose a movie. So let me just go ahead here and open this up. And I got a bunch of different ones. Actually, we'll just do it the drag and drop method, make it even faster. Yeah. This way we can jump around. So, you know, here's 3 examples. So this is a bad shot. It's 4K and it's great, but you see how there's intersections here? And I've got movement where I don't want movement. Yeah. This is a better shot, and this is even better performed, you know, where you're getting the clear sense of movement, but you're not getting everything distracting. So we can decide to lock part of that down. So if we take that in, what happens is it opens it up, and it loads all those frames into Flixel. Yeah. And what I need to do now is decide what part I want to keep. So you see everything's moving. Yeah. It's pretty cool. And we essentially mask. So now I'm just going to say, okay, right now everything's frozen. Well, let's bring the water back.
That's cool.
So we get this. It's got a nice soft brush. Cool ability. Left bracket, just like Photoshop. You can adjust that size. And if I get a mistake there, I can say, oh, you know what? Let's just freeze that a little bit. And I'll just option paint.
Just like Photoshop.
Just like Photoshop or standard tools. And so now we've got the river moving while everything else is locked down. Then, after you get it masked, you just decide how you want to make it loop. And so you could adjust the duration. And right now, it's doing the simple crossfade at the end back to the beginning. And it's seamless. Yeah. But sometimes you want it to bounce depending upon the animation.
To go back and forth, beginning to end, Yeah.
And then they give you some simple filters if you want to stylize the image, and you export. So that's a simple example, but let me show you just a little bit more complex. So as we get in here, it's amazing what you can do. So I'll just take this one here and open it up. And so here, you see the bald eagle. Yeah. And all I did was I simply masked out this area where I wanted this part to show.
And everything else is frozen.
Everything else is frozen. And
it's looping back and forth.
It's doing that ping pong style. If it gets to the end, and then it goes back. And so it's kind of cool.
And so it'll do that forever.
It'll do that forever.
And you can export that as a GIF.
Or a movie, or Flixel has their own format that looks pretty good when you share. They got different levels depending upon how many you want to post and everything else. But they have their own file format that works on social media that looks a little better. And so you can even do things like freak people out, like say, oh, you know, when it starts, just be a frozen image for 3 seconds. Then catch them by surprise.
Harry Potter style.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's fun.
They should have named the software the Harry Potter software.
Yes.
Right there. That's it.
So, and it's not hard to shoot. The key is just to get things sort of locked down. So, you know, when I'm putting this all together, all I make sure is that I've got everything locked off. Yeah. And then I just shoot it. And the thing is that you can also do it as a high-speed burst. And so if you want, you could take raw files, and that's what I did here. I just took a time-lapse sequence and processed them and got a Jacob's ladder of the electrical arc.
Yeah.
Because you'd have a hard time. So I got that nice grungy HDR look.
Yeah.
And I just shot this as a high-speed burst. So the mirrorless camera is so fast at shooting burst.
Right.
You put in the SDXC card and you just for about like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So I was able to capture,
card, yeah.
and we could pull out all that detail.
Holy crap! I
in the cinematograph.
that.
And so it's fun. And so we made this little piece for a museum, and the Jacob's ladder just goes through the electricity, which is kind of fun. But
cool.
here's that cake.
Yeah.
And so same idea. So we shot birthday cake. All we need to do is then trim it so we could say, all right, let's make this a couple of seconds long. We're going to make like a birthday card or a web greeting.
Yeah.
So we could set that there to the duration. And then you just mask it.
That's how fast this is.
Yep. And I just paint over the candles there.
Now, Rich, while you're doing that, let me ask you a devil's advocate question here. So looking at what you're doing here, I see how simple it is, and I know they also have an iOS app that you can do this stuff on easily as well. You, as an educator, you know After Effects, you know Motion, you know all these tools. The folks that are watching this probably have Creative Cloud, right? Or many of them have Creative Cloud, which means they have access to those pieces of software. Why would they want to use Cinemagraph Pro over something presumably more powerful like After Effects or Motion?
Well, the answer is always it depends, and it's not exclusive. So that previous example I showed you with the electric Jacob's ladder, I shot that raw. I developed the raw files in Lightroom. Lightroom has a better raw decoder than Flixel does. It's not designed to decode raw files.
Sure.
So why not? Other times, I might take the video into a tool like After Effects or Premiere Pro and color correct it first. Get it so it looks perfect, and then move it in. You can do these things inside of a tool, but it's the same idea of why do dedicated plugins exist.
Right.
I recognize that not everybody can afford every tool, so you have to be judicious in what you buy.
Yeah.
But for me, if something is fast and simple and just works, and this has a great export file format, I'm going to use it. I mean, the fact that I can get results like I did here, the shot's done in 2 minutes.
Quick, yeah.
Well, billable time, that means that I can go do something else that makes money.
Yeah.
These days, clients don't say, how long did you work?
Right.
They say, this is my budget. And I say, I could do that or not. And so the faster I can do it, the better. So I'm all for buying
something
tools.
like this guy.
Yeah.
You just did this in front of a live studio audience, took a couple seconds to do this. How long would doing something like this take in After Effects?
Probably about 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and that's from you, right?
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. You know hotkeys.
Yeah, but it all comes down to just using the right tool for the job. I still may take something into After Effects to color correct it or stabilize the shot.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of using the right tool. And, this is fun. I mean, it's the same reason. Like when we talk about HDR, I love the HDR capabilities on the camera. Flip over to bracket
talk about
mode.
that a little. Yeah.
And this particular camera can shoot 7 shots, 2 stops apart. 14 stops of dynamic range.
Wow.
That's insane.
Like that,
Yeah, obviously you're shooting in low light, you're going to be some really long exposures as you start getting to number 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
But what I tend to do is I set it so it shoots the normal exposure stuff first.
Yep.
So it gets the bright stuff out of the way. What's nice about that is if you were framing up on action and you take the shot, then you got the action. Because sometimes if you're shooting in really low light, you might find that those last couple of shots are pretty slow.
Yeah.
So, it just sort of depends. For example here, let me open up.
This is all stuff you shot with the GH4, right?
Yeah. So that's a noisy shot, but let me take up this one here. Here we go. So, the ability to really get in there and shooting with available light, get the sky, get the sunlight, get the darkest shadow.
Yeah.
It's nice to really be able to step in and pull all that stuff together.
Yep.
But I still use Photoshop. For example, this is a tool that most people don't use called the Adaptive Wide Angle tool. And the ability to draw straight lines where you want straight lines and to draw a box where you want a box.
And it will just conform the image to that.
Yeah.
Is that new?
No, it's been around for about 3-4 years. This is my job.
See, this is the problem. All this cool stuff that's buried underneath there.
Right, because you go adaptive wide angle. I wasn't shooting wide angle. Why would I use it?
Right.
No,
right.
I call this the straightening tool. It's like there's distortion, fix it.
Yeah.
And so I was able to go in and very precisely, take this image here and remap it so everything was straight.
Yeah. Wow.
So, it's all just a matter of using the right tool for the job. But what I like is that, in this case, this is rock solid. I love having physical dials.
Yeah.
So I'm in time-lapse mode. I'm in HDR mode. I'm in video mode.
Yeah.
We actually used this on a 4K video project recently. That was a very tight budget. We were doing some videos for the Family Online Safety Institute. They're online now. Okay. It's called Good Digital Parenting. And so
Digital Parenting.
They were teaching parents advice on how to interact with their kids. And it was two hosts talking side by side. Non-profit, so budgets are, of course, enormous. Now, tiny as heck, but a good cause.
Yeah, minuscule budgets, yeah.
So we made it work. So we just set the camera up, shot 4K, and shot the actors side by side from the waist up on green screen.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, you can't shoot green screen on a DSLR. Well, this isn't a DSLR.
Right.
One of the things I love about Panasonic, I've been using their video cameras for years, is that they have 3 different quality settings for the video. Not just quality settings, but actual codecs. You can do MPEG-4, you can do movies, you can do AVC HD.
Yep.
And so these are pro quality formats.
Yeah.
And so we shot them from the waist up on a 2-shot.
Yep.
Then as we cut the video together and put all the pieces together, we were able to punch in for the tight shots and the wide shots. So the actors only had to do one master shot.
Yeah.
There were no separate takes.
Yeah.
We just did it twice. And then, did it so that each thing was delivered successfully twice.
Yep.
And then we were able to punch in wherever we needed. Rather than have to recompose or relight or change anything, it was all done in post. It was perfect for green screen.
Wow. Wow. All right, so let's wrap it up here. I want to ask you just kind of like some high blue sky level questions here.
Sure.
On just this overall 4K technology and Panasonic cameras.
Yeah.
So you've been in there. I mean, you're in into the bolts of the camera. You know how it works. And you're training on this. And you mentioned a couple of times choosing the right tool for the right job.
Yes.
Are these level cameras becoming increasingly the right tool? Or in other words, to frame the question differently, how do they stack up versus traditional cameras, say the DSLRs, the big Nikons, Canons, etc.?
Well, it all depends on the job. In the video world, we also own some AF100s from Panasonic, and we also own some 500s and 375s, which are broadcast-style cameras. There's still times that you need to show up with that because the client expects something. They're used to seeing
the theater of photography.
Yes. Yeah. But, for me, when I'm traveling, the fact that I could travel, I own 2 GH4s, I have a GH3. I have a couple other cameras from different manufacturers that I throw in the bag too. I love the Micro Four Thirds format. Yeah. So in my shop, depending upon the client and the job, we have to switch. Well, Micro Four Thirds lenses, besides working with my Panasonic cameras, will also work with 2 other major manufacturers that we use a lot, which is great.
Yep.
And so I got the flexibility for the job. I love having...
You can say who they are.
That's fine. We use Olympus some of the time, and we use Blackmagic.
Yep.
And so the fact that the lenses work are fantastic. So this is an Olympus lens that I happen to like. It works on my GH4 absolutely fine. I've got cinema-style lenses. I've got all sorts of types of Micro Four Thirds lenses. I got lenses from Lens Baby. Yep. It's a wonderful investment.
And they all go in the same
system.
Yeah.
And so we're using these more and more. I think that the GH4, for the size of which it is and the ease of which I can travel with it, it's become my #1 travel camera for video and time-lapse. Wow. Because I'm getting great images in a very small package, and I've tested it in lots of situations. And it's very easy to use. The controls are very articulate. It's easy to program what you want, and you get good results. So I think it's a solid camera. I've looked at some of the other ones that are coming up. The 1000 unit, I believe, that has an attached lens that goes from like 28 to 300.
Yeah, the FZ1000,
Great second camera or third camera as a backup. Yeah. So I like it. And we've been a Panasonic shop for years on the video side. Yeah. And so it's nice to see that the video strength, along with HDR and time-lapse and still shooting, is coming into that body.
It's coming in. Well, what's next for Richard? I mean, you've got Red Pixel, your production company, and you've also you're the head of Photo Focus, the podcast.
Yep.
What's happening next in your world?
We're keeping busy. Photo Focus is publishing stories every day. Got some great writers, which is fun.
Yeah.
A bunch of conferences coming up this season and a few trips. So I'll be going diving in a couple of weeks, and I leave for Dubai in a couple of days. Okay. So it'll be a lot of fun shooting.
You're not busy.
No, it's all good.
How do you do all this stuff? How do you keep it all together?
Not enough sleep, to be honest.
That whole sleeping thing, I've given up
Overrated.
on. Right,
Yeah.
Richard Harrington, thank you
Thanks
for
for
coming
having
on, man. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that's it for this session of the Lumix Lounge. You can check out the Panasonic Lumix YouTube channel for all the other videos that we're doing this week and from the other trade shows that we've been at. I'm Frederick Van Johnson. We'll see you in the next one.